Very good afternoon to all of you for tuning in. We really appreciate your time. Before we get started, I wanted all of us to remember that today is International Nurses Day. We commemorate the birth of Florence Nightingale, Lady with the Lamp. Uh, the reason I thought I'll start with this tribute is because nurses today, the entire medical fraternity, is at the forefront fighting for all of us. And this could be a great tribute and a great day to have this session today. So I thought I'll use this opportunity. Now, having said that, uh, we are definitely living in a crisis situation right now, and most of us have joined remotely, taking care of multiple aspects at home, managing multiple things, right? At an organizational level, if you look at how multiple companies have got impacted by this current situation, it has really given a new dimension to the way we think about our business. Yes, in a short term, the businesses have been impacted adversely, but at the same time, the same situation and the aftermath of it is presenting a lot of possibilities for us. And keeping that context in mind, what SAP did about a few weeks ago was to create a platform like this, wherein we bring in industry peers, industry veterans, startups, and from SAP as well, to discuss about how we can collectively, with the power of the ecosystem, face this crisis and emerge victorious. Now, in that series itself, today's session and today's discussion rather is about how do we enhance the customer experience. There would be multiple industries where customer experience is at the core of the way we do our business. And there could not be a better time than this to think about how we could enhance or elevate the customer experience. So, like I said earlier, uh, we are living in this new reality, and this new reality is presenting a lot of opportunities for us. Most of us have been exposed to what is the topic of discussion today is about the augmented reality. People who are using Microsoft Teams or Zoom or collaboration platforms like this with our virtual background, which by the way is not the case today. Uh, are actually experiencing it, right? How do we actually contextualize this for our businesses is what I will be discussing with my colleague on here. And before I move on, let me introduce Kanav. Kanav, welcome to the session. Kanav, you are on mute.
Thanks for introducing. Good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here.
So before we initiate the discussion, a quick introduction for Kanav. So Kanav is the CEO of a company called Adloit, and SAP and Adloit have been working together to do a lot of interesting things, which is what we will uncover in the next few minutes in my conversation with Kanav. So let's get started, Kanav, and we'll make it interactive, we'll make it fun. We thought rather than having a monologue, we'll have a conversation so that
Yeah.
some new things will emerge and I will be able to share very honest perspectives about the way we look at things in this space. So before we start about the usage of the technology and how this could be leveraged, let me start with basics because it will really help for all of us, all the listeners here, to understand what is augmented reality. Okay, let's define augmented reality, especially, and I ask this question especially because whenever we talk about AR, we say AR and VR, right? So it's very important for us to really isolate these terms, understand threadbare, and
Hmm.
that will form the foundation of how we proceed our discussion. So, kind of, how would you define AR?
So Nitish, this is true that there has been, a lot of a debate on what is augmented reality and what is virtual reality. And these days, you see, a new term in the market which is extended reality. So that has just combined everything together and created a lot of confusion for people. So I'm here to simplify it. So in simple words, augmented reality is an extension of your existing reality. So in augmented reality, you can add virtual objects in your real life. So, like if you are walking in your garden, you can use your smartphone to bring in a virtual object in your garden. And I'm sure most of our viewers today, they must have seen the Google Animal AR launch that happened in the last 1 or 2 months, and it took off, and children were playing it and toddlers were playing with it. So that's like the basic essence of augmented reality, that you can bring in a virtual object in your real environment. You can contextualize it accordingly, and that has created a vast, they've created a vast list of use cases that we will be discussing today. When you talk about virtual reality, or when you talk about extended reality, these are all extensions of having a virtual environment around you using a certain set of hardwares to do that. So virtual reality is nothing but wearing a virtual headset and then getting yourself completely immersed in a virtual environment. So that's how virtual reality comes into picture. And also, if you talk about, there are other forms of augmented reality as well that I have seen, and most of our viewers must have also seen, where there is a HoloLens, or there is an AR glass that has come into picture. So that is another form of AR. But just to simplify it, if you can just use your smartphone, bring a virtual object in your environment. For us today, that is the context of augmented reality.
Very interesting. I mean, on a lighter note, I was reading somewhere today that with virtual reality, you can swim with the sharks, but with augmented reality, you can watch a shark pop out of your business card. So basically, while VR is more immersive, but AR provides you more freedom for the user and more possibilities for the marketers, because it does not need to be a head-mounted display. So it is something which can be experienced in a minimal invasive manner. Very interesting. Would you want to showcase something to our viewers so that we understand how AR works before we get down to some specific use cases?
Sure, Nitish. So I have a demo here, which is an augmented reality try-on demo. I'm sure you can see it.
Yes.
So this demo is how you can use your smartphone's front camera to augment a 3D object on your face. So this is a virtual try-on, which is useful for a specs maker or an eyewear maker, where they can use a platform like this to give this experience to their end consumer so that they can visualize how a virtual product will look on their face. So if you see here, it's not only about bringing the product in your real environment or bringing the virtual product in your real environment, but it's also about the context that this specs or this virtual specs needs to be placed on your face. So an extension to augmented reality also comes in through machine learning and technologies like AI, where face detection and calculating your face shape and face size is important. So, these contexts have made augmented reality more powerful than ever, where not only bringing the object in your reality is important, but also contextualizing it according to the use case has become the new norm now. So most of the viewers, I think they have experienced something similar like this, but not to the extent of the level of realism that augmented reality has reached today. So this is all done through a smartphone. Like, you don't need any additional hardware to do this.
Very interesting. I'm really excited to know more about this, and let's talk about that a little later in our chat. But before we go there, tell me more about your journey, with the entire genesis of Adloyd. What was the motivation behind starting this enterprise, and how has been the run so far?
Yeah, Nitish. So, when we started Adloyd, it's almost been 3.5 years now, and the initial idea was that a couple of my friends and me were moving into a new apartment, and we were trying to buy furniture online, and it was a big hassle because we were not able to understand how will a sofa fit or look in my room or in my drawing room, or will this bed fit or not. Because for me to visualize what is 6 by 8 and then to actually see it in the real space was a big problem. And then we sort of identified that this is not only a problem where it's difficult for you to buy furniture before trying it, but there are other industries as well where physical presence of the real product becomes a challenge. So initial days were more about solving the problem for home decor retailers or home decor e-commerce platforms. And with time, we have taken up challenges from different industries like automotive, like retail, like manufacturing as well. So the journey has been about taking one challenge at a time, and then reaching out to the entire spectrum of industries. And for us, this is very similar to a transition that you are seeing from 2D to 3D commerce. So if you talk about the 90s, the commerce was TV based. If you talk about 2001 to 2010, the medium was internet. Then came mobile phone, and now we are looking at a 3D commerce where everything that you buy or everything that you consume or you wish to buy or is part of your life can be first viewed in 3D and augmented reality, and then you can go ahead and buy it or go ahead and purchase. So that's the mission that we are on. That we want to be leading this transition. We want partners, we want customers to be at the forefront of this transition as well, where we shift from a 2D commerce to a 3D commerce.
I think it has been a great journey so far, and there could not have been a better time than this to really be able to solve the problems, which we will discuss in more detail. Give me a sense of, how has this technology really been developed and evolved globally? And at a global landscape, at what stage are we currently? And why do you think it is the right time?
So, Nitish, augmented reality is not a new term. It's not something which we've seen now. It has been around for almost 6-7 years now. And when we got into this business or we started the enterprise and ventured into this, augmented reality was at a decent level of advancement, but it was not ready to reach out to the consumer yet. It was more business focused. It was not solving a lot of problems because the level of realism was not there. And also, one of the bigger challenges that existed in the earlier years of augmented reality was the challenge of actually making it happen, like the challenge of deployment. But for every enterprise or for every brand, it took months to deploy augmented reality. So today we have reached a stage where augmented reality has become widely accessible for everyone, and we can, especially I'm talking about Adloyd and other companies, where we can make retailers and brands and enterprises AR ready in a matter of days. And also for the end consumer, it has become very easy to consume because the smartphones have become very good in terms of computing and in terms of camera, because Google and Apple are constantly working on innovating them. So that also helps us in creating a great tool for the industry where the smartphone itself has a lot of power. So combining all these factors where deployment has become easy, the smartphone has become more smart than what it was 2 years back, and becoming easy for the customer to use. I think augmented reality today has reached a stage where it's about to blow up. Like it's about to not only transform businesses but also help them create new channels of distribution or new digital touchpoints. Because if you see where retail today is, there is a lot of real estate costs that they have to bear. Then there is a lot of customer experience costs that they have to bear. And in some businesses, return is like killing the profits. So if you talk about where all it has been adopted, so globally we have seen major retailers and major manufacturers like L'Oreal, like IKEA, Wayfair, Porsche, all adopting it to a level where this is one of the key mediums for them to reach out to their customers. So it's possible that all major industries today are going to adopt it. It's just a matter of time, and especially if you talk about the current scenario, definitely this is an avenue that they have to look at. And we are already seeing new industries coming in which we never thought would be able to make use of augmented reality, but that's how things are. Business knows better than the developers. So that's where we are when it comes to AI.
Yeah, and if you could also give us a sense of the scale of adoption. You took some examples, L'Oreal and IKEA, etc. At what scale are some of these organizations leveraging AR?
So if you talk about, let's say, a Lenskart, or if you talk about an IKEA, they have millions of people using it every day. So IKEA has close to 8 million downloads of their augmented reality app that they launched, I think, a couple of years back. And if you talk about the likes of Lenskart or Bobby Parker, they have close to 100,000 people using their augmented reality try-on every day. And it has become like the norm. Like everyone who's shopping online, this is the go-to, trial option for them. And also, industries like automotive, where the real estate is a big cost, where you have to open a big dealership. They have decreased the size of dealerships. So, for Porsche, if they were spending 100 rupees on opening one dealership, now they're spending 5 rupees in opening one dealership. Or in 100 rupees, they are opening 20 dealerships. So, that's the level of scale where augmented reality has impacted in some businesses.
Very interesting. And that brings me to the industry's question, although you have partially answered this. But then where do you see the adoption of this technology if you look at the broader industry spectrum? And have you really seen a diversified set of use cases? And maybe if you could share a couple of use cases.
Sure. So I don't think AR is industry specific anymore, because now we have reached a stage where you can tweak with the technology a lot. It's more open than more closed, and we definitely have use cases in retail. We definitely have use cases in automotive, in white goods category. We have also seen a set of use cases when it comes to maintenance, when it comes to manufacturing, when it comes to repair. So I have an interesting use case which I think a company like Bosch has implemented. So I'll just take you guys through that. So this is a use case where using the iPad, there is the complete process of diagnostics and the complete process of maintenance has been literally brought in your iPad, and then you can definitely go ahead and get more information through it.
Kanak, sorry to interrupt. Are you projecting a slide for this?
Can you see the screen?
Yeah, well, I still see the earlier demo that you showed. Right now, I don't see any movement. You could project again. Yes, now we can see.
Okay. So this is the augmented reality demo that is being used for repair and maintenance, where you scan the car and then you run the complete diagnostics in augmented reality, and it explains you each and every part of it. And then even your complex repair procedures can be implemented because there is a guided assistance then and there for you. And if you want to take it to the next level, then you can obviously augment the same information on an AR glass like a HoloLens as well. So this is one. I also wanted to showcase another innovation that augmented reality has brought in. So this is a demo which has been created by architects and interior designers. So if you are familiar with the architects and interior designers initial process, so if I go to them and ask for help, what they will do is they will take the 2D layout of my house and then use softwares like 3ds Max and Revit to create a 3D out of it. So in this video that I am showcasing, what the architects have actually done is they have taken the 2D design for me, and using augmented reality, they have created a 3D out of it, on its own. So augmented reality also have the power to convert 2D into 3D. So this is a very interesting use case where the architects now, they don't need to rely on external softwares, or they don't need to rely on a different set of softwares. They can just get the 2D inputs from their customers and create a 3D out of it. So if you see the room that has been created, the room that is being decorated here, this room was a 2D room, and augmented reality has brought it to life.
Very interesting.
So, never sure of these such use cases. These are all coming from the industry, where the industry has joined hands with partners like us and given us that they have a set of problems that can be solved using this technology. So I think whenever there is a new use case, whenever there is a new innovation, it's definitely a co-innovation between the technology and the business. So that's how we have seen multiple use cases come out.
Very interesting. I think if I were to take away a couple of things from some amazing videos that you have shown, the first
Yeah.
one is about, it actually opens a lot of possibilities. I mean, we are looking at how we could actually enhance the experience of, say, for example, a maintenance engineer, if he were to
Yeah.
do a repair of a car or a machine at the shop
Yeah.
floor, and this entire augmented reality experience augmented with the steps to solve that problem or repair a car in this case. I think that opens a lot of possibilities. And the second example is on the entire conversion from a 2D to 3D, and for
Yeah.
the home. I believe this could be applicable for the overall home decor business, the paintings, and all the other aspects, on the home furnishing, where the companies
Definitely.
could learn. Great. So, I mean, we spoke about multiple use cases, but then let's collect all of these and look from the lens of a customer experience. Okay.
Yeah.
So how do you see AR solving or enhancing or elevating the customer experience, which is the core topic of discussion today?
Yeah. So, augmented reality, as we've all seen, it has a lot of power when it comes to creating a digital twin for your business. And what we have realized while working with some of the industry players is that it has actually redeemed the need of having a physical inventory at all. You simply require a smartphone as a consumer, and you can experience the complete catalog of your favorite brand or your favorite enterprise just by sitting at home. So you don't need any additions to your smartphone. For instance, a furniture retailer, lifestyle brand, a shoe company, a beauty company, a car manufacturer, they don't need showrooms. They don't need, a lot of physical inventory if they have a retail store. They can give the similar experience, or in some cases, exactly the same experience in augmented reality today. And from a customer standpoint, if we talk about what the customer needs are today, so the customer appetite has increased, Nitish. And what has happened is that as a customer, a website or a video is not able to give me enough information about the product. And for me, the only option left is that I have to go out, step out of my house, and go to the store and talk to the sales consultants or talk to the salespeople in those stores, and then get more information about the product before I can actually buy it. So this complete process of not getting access to information on on the same day or the same moment, and then waiting a long time, is actually shortened now. That whenever there is an interest, whenever the customer is interested, he can just try that product, and the chances of him buying that product goes up by 10x. So that's where we see that the customer experience also is changing now, where the customer is privy to this concept, and Google and Apple have made a lot of advancements in this, or you can say they have made a lot of effort in changing that consumer behavior. Because if toddlers can figure out that they have to augment, they can augment, a golden retriever or a cheetah in their house, then for more tech savvy people, or for the older age, or for the younger people, it's not as difficult as it was earlier. So in terms of consumer experience, I see this as something which is going to be part of our lives pretty soon. And
Yeah.
talk
So
about this and some, some of the use cases that were not possible earlier. So, people keep asking me that how can I buy a car using AR? That I have to test drive it. So the point is that it's not about you can buy a car online or not. It's about, can you experience the car without going to the dealership? So that's where the big question mark comes in. That even the big uh, ticket size products like jewelry, or big ticket size products like a car, they are now also coming online. So if you see all major OEMs and all major jewelry players, they are now coming online with a trial option, or keeping their entire inventory there, because physical is going to be a challenge. So we see that shift happening as well.
I think very interesting, and definitely what I hear from you is that we are not looking at something, a technology replacing the current experience. We are only augmenting the experience of the customer So like in case of a jewelry buyer or an apparel buyer, rather than trying out, say, 50 odd sets of clothes or jewelry sets, you want to try virtually those 50 and then shortlist those 3 to 4, which you want to physically try out. So there is a lot of optimization at play here. We're saving time, we're saving resources. So I think that's a combination which is at play. Now, in the
Yeah.
same breath, I mean, if you were to talk about some customer stories, some engagement that you had in India, and how the customers got benefited, that would be very interesting to hear.
Sure. So I'll share what we have done with Mercedes. So this is an augmented reality demo that we created for them. So it's like this is shot in my own backyard. So you can just scan your floor, scan the surface near you, and then a 1:1 scale, a physical replica of the car comes in front. So customers who are interested in buying this, they don't have to go to the dealership today. They can just experience this in their own driveway and get an idea of how this product is going to look like. So from the look and feel perspective, definitely this is something which gives the customer a lot of confidence when it comes to buying that product. And if you talk about some of the success stories that we have had with customers, the success stories measured with their ROI or their return on investment. So there have been a couple of points there which have stood out for us, or a couple of metrics that have stood out for us. One of the metric was that some of the customers who came to these brands through augmented reality, if augmented reality was not there, they could not have figured out which product to buy. So that would have been a big question mark for them in their buying process, that they don't know for themselves which product to buy. And secondly, when it comes to saving money on their real estate costs, so I'll give you a very interesting example. So one of our customers are based in Germany, and they have a manufacturing business and they sell their machinery all across the world. Now today we are in lockdown, but even before that, their one of their machine, it's a printing company, and their machine is of the size of a room. It's like 10 by 10 by 10. And for them to demonstrate their machine to each and every of their prospects is impossible, because they can't send that machine for trial. And if I'm sitting in India and I have to buy a machine like this for my business, I have to travel and go to Germany and do multiple trips to figure out if this is the right product for me or not. So what augmented reality has made possible is that the same way I've augmented a car, I can augment the machine in front of me and then demonstrate and then actually see what this machine looks like and how this machine functions. Because all these buttons that you see on the screen right now, these buttons are interactive. You can change the interior, you can change the exterior. The same way if it's a printer machine, you can see what the machinery and what the engineering behind that machine is. So, these are some stories where we have seen the customer not only saving money, but also getting new business because of this. So that has been the biggest success for us.
Great. I think this is a fantastic story. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yeah. So this was great story. I mean, apart from that, I saw that you were referring to the eyewear demo. Would you want to speak about that engagement as well?
Yeah. So eyewear is something which it's a no-brainer for most of the eyewear makers today, because it is something which is not as luxury as a car or a jewelry, but for me it's an essential, because if I don't have my specs with me, then I'm almost blind. So, and I think that's the case with 50% of our country, and 50% of our country wears specs. So for eyewear makers, the problem always has been that for a consumer to try on 8,000, 9,000 products is almost impossible, because that's the catalog size that most of the eyewear makers have. And for the store to hold that level of inventory is a cost. It's a huge cost, and it may or may not sell. So they had their own optimizations that they have done in retail. But what has happened in such businesses today is that creating a digital twin has solved the entire process for them of inventory and supply chain. because now they know that a customer who is trying out these specs can not only see it, not only try it, but can just place the order online, because the confidence of the customer today when he's trying these products online is very high, because the augmented reality has reached that level where we match the realism as much as we can. And also, if you talk about eyewear, like the video I was showing earlier, there is this feature there. I'll just pull it up again. It is just the video visible.
Yes, yes, we can see that.
So there is this feature here where your face is scanned, and according to your face, you are recommended the best, frame. So as in this video, the person's face is a round medium, and we have recommended a rectangle medium frame to them. And you can see this is something which fits on this face as best as possible. So technology has gone to that level, or the advancement in augmented reality has gone to a level where not only it can showcase the product to you, but it can also recommend the right product to you.
Very interesting. So, I mean, a couple of things, like you mentioned about the right product being recommended, and this is happening on the fly based
Yeah.
on the face profile and the shape and size of the face. The system is running the machine learning algorithms to recommend the right set of products out of thousands of, say, types of, specs here. It's recommending maybe 50 or 100. I think that's amazing aspect. And second, which you also touched upon, was about the availability, right? I mean, having a clear visibility from the store, the business standpoint, in terms of what is available for me to be sold to the customer directly, given that she is liking a product. I think both things are coming out really well in addition to the augmented experience. And I could very well notice there kind of that I think there are finer nuances here in terms of how are you giving this fitment in this entire AR experience. It could have been just one pair of specs fitting into your face, but here with the movement of the face itself, we can see that those aspects have been taken care of. And this is where I think technology maturity comes into the picture. So you want to talk about the maturity aspect as well, and how that has been very instrumental in terms of delivering the right, the business efficiency.
Sure. So I think that has been very important aspect of augmented reality today, because if you talk about where the technology was and where the technology is today, there was a four-step process that the enterprises have to go through, and we have seen in the past that for each of the process they had to onboard a different company or a different vendor, and that comes with its own cost and comes with its own confusion that who is going to do what. So if you talk about the augmented reality process, taking the example of eyewear, the first thing you need to have is you need to create photorealistic 3D objects or 3D designs. And when you are talking about the size of these objects, or when you're talking about the scale of these objects, which is at thousands or 10,000, you need a content management or a product management system in place. Then once you have that, you need a rendering technology. So it's like if you have to play a video, you have to have a video player. Same way, if you have to play a 3D model, you have to have a rendering player as well. And then on top of that, you need the design of machine learning and AI, like you mentioned, which is the finer nuances of computer vision of how this frame is going to fit that person. And once all that is done, then you need to deploy it. You need to deploy it on the cloud. You need to deploy it on iOS. You need to deploy it on Android, on web. So this four-step process, takes close to 10,000 hours. That has been my experience. That every AR VR experience that has been created or is being widely used, or was widely used till last year. Every company was using 3.5 softwares, and for one experience they were taking 1,000 hours of development. So that has been a big challenge, and that has been for many enterprises to adopt a technology like this, where they have to not only invest money, but they have to invest a lot of time. They have to wait for the final output to come in. So that's where we feel, things have changed, and that has been a big turning point for us as well, because we can make this four-step process into one, and that's also, with partnership with SAP, where most of the components have been taken care on the cloud, most of the innovation happening there as well, and this four-step process being converted into one, and in a matter of days you can go live with your augmented reality experience rather than taking 10,000 hours. So that has been a big maturity that has come into AR now. Not only is it ready for a wow factor, but it's also ready to completely revamp your digital part of the business. And I'm sure, Nitish, you have a lot to say when it comes to this innovation that has come in with SAP and Adloit coming together, and how this journey is going to go forward.
Yeah, so I mean, in my view, and we had a great partnership. I can clearly see that, and there's a lot that we can do together. But where I clearly see SAP and Adloit coming together in a big way is by
Hmm.
really using the power of both the enterprises. I mean, Adloit brings with it great experience in terms of modeling this entire AR and making it
Hmm.
contextual to the businesses. At the same time, most of the businesses are using SAP, okay, and this is where a lot of enterprise data is residing. And for
Hmm.
any use case to really fructify, we need to really marry this to the customer experience data with the other aspects of the data. It could be about the customer master, it could be about the availability of the product, and all the back-end supply chain processes associated with that. And this is where I clearly see that we create a great story together. And and like you mentioned, the power of the platform as well. So with SAP's cloud platform, which is our platform as a service, how we enhance and augment the experience of our SAP customers in terms of adoption of this technology is something that I'm very, very excited about. In fact, Kanav,
Hmm.
I also know that based on the Titan experience, even you changed your specs because you used this AR technology on your face as well.
So
So
yeah,
that's pretty
that's
much. Yeah, go ahead.
so that actually happened in a very candid way, because when we were developing this, and we got to know that there is a lot of nitty gritty is that you have to go through when you are actually buying a specs, because I was not aware that buying a specs there is so much that you have to figure out, especially the fit part of it, because it is something that you are going to wear on your face every day and every hour, every waking hour, and if it's not comfortable, if it just looks good, it's going to be a problem. So, definitely augmented reality has helped me understand, the fit of this product better. And believe it or not, but I bought this one online, and it fits me perfectly. So, that's the power of augmented reality.
And it works. Yeah. So on just extending that discussion itself, for every product before it comes to the market, there's a very famous study that every product company does, and which is about looking at it in the three dimensions of the feasibility, viability, and affordability, right?
Hmm.
So in terms of the feasibility, I think you addressed it. The technology is here and it is mainstream, and people are using it. Organizations are using it. Uh,
Hmm.
on the viability, I mean, can we bring it to enterprises? Again, we have seen success in India with Titan and a couple of automotive customers that you have already gotten to adopt. On the affordability aspect, if you could give a sense of how affordable is this technology to adopt, and
Hmm.
are we really looking at a particular size and scale of an organization before we could adopt this AR technology? So, what's your sense in that?
So yeah, Nitin, that's a great question, because I think most of the takeaway from this webinar for most of our viewers would be about the affordability, and it's good that we talk about that a little bit as well. So as I've mentioned earlier, that we were talking about a four-step process and a four-vendor process before this. So when you talk about onboarding four companies to build something in augmented reality for you, which is ready at scale. So I'm talking about enterprise, and I'll come to small and medium businesses after that. So for enterprise, it might work. They might be able to afford it. They might be able to onboard four companies, because they have the war chest, they have the scale as well, and they have a number of objects also where they might feel that have onboarding four vendors makes sense. But for a small business or for a medium enterprise, onboarding vendor itself is a challenge. So onboarding four vendors and then building a different story altogether, it's like running a different business within your business. So that is something that we have addressed very well, because we are not only working with enterprise customers, but there is a set of customers where we are working with electrical goods manufacturers, who only have 3 to 4 products. And for them also this has come in handy, because they are able to showcase these products to their dealers in the most affordable and the most digital manner. So in terms of affordability, it's not going to cost a lot. It costs when you go to scale. It costs when you talk about reaching out to the entire business community of yours, or reaching out to the entire consumer base of yours. But if you have a certain set of problems or a small set of problems, it's very affordable as a technology today.
Great. I think most of the viewers here would take note of that. I believe in terms
Mhm.
of getting started, it is something that is pretty affordable. It's mainstream. It's feasible, viable, and affordable as well. So let's engage. And on that note, of course, we started off by talking about this entire new normal, the new realities, right? So how do you see some of these businesses changing the way they are going to adopt technology and specifically AR in this
Mhm.
current new normal scheme of things? And how are you sensing this entire market and landscape? Do you have customers reaching out to you asking for this technology given where we stand today?
So Nitish, that is something which is quite recent, where it's also unfortunate that the new reality that we are facing, or the new normal that we are facing, is not letting us go out of our houses or not interact with each other the way we used to. But we can't control it. That's the new normal. That's the new way of living going forward, at least for some time. And what we have seen a behavioral change, not only in consumers but also in the way businesses are going to reopen back. So most of the businesses today are worried about that when they go back to their retail operations, or when they open up, how much touch is going to be involved there. And it's saying now that we need a low touch or a no touch brand positioning to even attract customers into our stores. Forget about discounts, forget about the new catalog or the new designs that we are going to launch, but they need to have a low touch or a no touch positioning for attracting customers to the stores. Because if, let's take the example of an apparel company. If, let's say, I have to buy a pant and a shirt today, and I go to a retail store for trying out, or for me to buy it, I will try out at least couple of designs, or 3 4 designs, and I have to touch those designs as well. So, and I have to wear them if I'm trying them. So the whole experience of buying will change, where that is something which was mandatory earlier, but now people will be a little reluctant to do it. So the business's way of responding to this is that we will create a virtual trial within the store, where you come in, the entire inventory of the store is available to you virtually. You stand in front of a mirror, or stand in front of a virtual mirror or a magic mirror concept, and you can just browse through the entire catalog and just see how it looks on you. So we have seen this not only in apparel, we have seen this in jewelry as well. And like I mentioned earlier, in automotive, things have gone online, because at least the product experience side of things can go online. Definitely, if you have to buy a car, you have to take a test drive, but when you have to take the experience, you can take the whole product experience online. So businesses have started understanding the feasibility of this. They have also understood, as a concept, how this is going to help them reopen, how this is going to help them regain the consumer confidence. And also from from an affordability side, this actually helps them, because earlier when we were talking about affordability, this is not only about can the business afford it today or not, but it's also about how much money can they save using this. So this is
Correct.
actually helping them save money on day one itself. So that's these highlighting these points. We have businesses coming to us with certain set of problems, where they want to create a no touch or a low touch brand positioning. And that's where we see most of the business is going today, and their alignment is now changing from physical to digital and then digital. So that's where you need to have a digital twin of your business ready when things go up and running again, when all this is over.
No, I think this is a very interesting trend that you just mentioned, and I think from a cost perspective as well, when we start seeing the realization of the investment from day one, it becomes a very compelling reason for you to adopt. And of course, it hits your it impacts rather positively your top line as well, because we are able to engage with large number of customers who will come and engage with you and possibly buy from you, right? So I think uh, this is a very interesting space. I'm personally very excited from SAP to work with Adloyd and talk to our customers. And I think now is a good time to take questions from the audience here. But before we do that, we have a quick 3 questions which I would request our audience to answer so that we can engage with all of you in a better manner, and then we can come to Q&A. So Amit, if you could questions.
Thank you so much, Nitish and Kanav. So before we move on to the Q&A, we will display the poll questions. I request our audience to please give your feedback.